So I'm going to add some detail in now with some stitching. This is just some sewing cotton that came into the cat shop. Into the charity shop. I've got a basket full of them here, but as you can see, the moving process didn't help them lying all nicely, so I will have to get back to that and untangle them all. So just, yeah, like I say, stranded normal sewing cotton, and I was just going to sew maybe some little lines in here just to give a bit of definition into this, because it's gone a bit sort of smooshy. I don't want lots of things going on, and because if you have big knots or something like that over here, it'll pull attention away from the foreground. Because if you imagine, you can't see the detail as clearly in something that's far away as you can in the foreground. So if you put lots of big knots and beads and lovely yummy things in the foreground, then that's fine, but all in the background it would look a bit strange unless there's quite specific circumstances, you know, like I don't know, you've got a massive great flower somewhere in the background. As a stupid example, ignore me, I'll go away. So I'm just going to using stem stitch, the old faithful stem stitch, I'm just going to stitch. You could use just a long satin stitch here, that's no reason why not. It's just I tend to use a stem stitch because it's a bit shorter, but there we are, I'll cheat and use a satin stitch, but we'll do it properly on this side. So just adding a few little bits of detail, nothing kind of too, like I say, nothing too bold, because it'll take away from the foreground details, but just some little bits like that. So I'll probably go around the windows, maybe add in some detail where there was above these structures here. Anyway, I'll explain when I'm done. So, but you can see that that's just made that stick out a little bit more than this up here. And if your stem stitch does go a little bit wonky, well then it's not the end of the world, because I'd imagine your walls probably are a bit wonky after they've been bombed. So it's all okay. So we'll just pop some other lines in here and things, and I will show it to you when I've done. So I've done all the little bits of stitching. It's not meant to be like architect standard. It's just little lines of sort of suggestion, really, because it's not meant to be ultra realistic, because if I do that it'll just go wrong because I'm not an architect. But anyway, here we are with what we've done. So this is all kind of little stem stitches and things like that. Just here and there add little bits of light and shadow and that kind of thing. So nothing terribly exciting, nothing scary, just look at your picture. And if there's a dark line, add a dark line. If there's a pale line, add a pale line. Pretty simple. I am not an artist. Well, I am technically an artist. I'm not someone who's good at drawing. So what I'm now going to do is, using two different threads, I'm going to put some knots and things into this rubble here at the bottom, just to break it up a little bit. So I'm going to use 3 strands of this one and 3 strands of this one. I find that if you put different colours in at the same time, when you make all the knots and things, you just end up with slightly more interesting things going on. So I shall just stitch some little knots in. Don't forget that the expand print, whatever stuff, the Tyvek, that's what this is called, will make holes, because it's like a plasticky fabric. So if you make a hole, you won't be able to go back and fix it terribly easily. You just cover it up with something else, so it'll all be fine. So I'm going to do some French knots. Sometimes a simple French knot, we'll just very quickly go to that. Loop your thread over your needle, pop your needle back in close to the where your thread came out. Just check to make sure, because I'm naughty and I use knots in the back of my work, that you're not pushing this needle through the knot, otherwise it kind of self-tightens and it all goes a bit weird. Anyway, there we go. We have a knot. So over here, just for a break up this flat bit, I might put 3 wraps around. So it's just a giant French knot really. The more wraps round you do, the more likely it is to go a bit squiffy, but rubble isn't perfectly round, so if it does go a bit squiffy, it's not the end of the world. So what I would do is sort of pack them up together, so you end up with a little sort of, like the rubble is kind of formed in, you know, this bit of ceiling might have come down here, which might have been this colour and this texture, and that bit of wall might have fallen over there. That kind of thing. So we'll do one more of these, and then we should do a bullion knot. And I know a lot of people don't like doing bullion knots, but I really enjoy them. But anyway, I'll show you why they're a bit weird. So come up like this, go down the length of that you'd like the bullion knot to be, and come back up where you started, like that. Then we use the technical term entitled wiggly 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 by wrapping this around here, just like you did with the French knot, but wrap it all the way around. Not making this very easy for you to see, am I? So that the threads you've got wrapped take up approximately the space that you've left behind. So we'll squish this up. That'll make sense in a minute. You see that's about 1 centimetre long, and that's about 1 centimetre long. I've pulled this quite tight, so that will come to bite me in a minute. So I'll loosen off my grip on this a little bit. And now what I do is I put my fingers over this section here, just one each side like that, just to basically hold them in position. You don't want them dropping off the end as they're trying to do there. So just hold them in position like that. I know you can't probably really see very much of what I'm doing at all, but we've just got them pinched. So now all we do is we pull the needle through the stitches that we've got. Now sometimes this needs a little bit of a wiggle, because like I said to you before, I was hanging on quite tight when I was showing you that. But we just wiggle our fingers. Again, more wiggling. These should be called wiggly stitches really, not bullion knots. And now all we do is keep pulling and poking and prodding and squishing until all these little wrapped bits form along the little line in question. Like that. See, for some reason, oh, because I've used so many different strands of things, some of them have got a little bit looser. But that's okay, because like I said, rubble isn't perfectly shaped. So what we do now is put that down there, like that, and we've got a little bullion knot. So we'll do another one of those, just because they're not awkward, but they're just a bit, they can be a bit fiddly sometimes. So we'll pop that through there, back out where we came from. Right, ready for the wiggly wiggly wiggly? There we go. This channel's full of technical terms, isn't it? There we go, about that many wiggles. So just I'll loosen it off a little bit. So put your fingers over all these little loops, pull the needle through, and you can kind of feel it going through all the various different spirals, as it were. So you see it's been a bit more awkward here, but we're getting it. So pull it as far as you can, so that your fingers are sort of in the way now, and then let go and turn it over. Actually, that's why it's got caught up in one bit of my chiffon. There we go. Fixed. And just keep pulling, squishing, pulling, squishing, pulling, squishing, pulling, shoving, squishing. Pull that bit of chiffon out of the way and stitch it back down there. This piece of chiffon is determined to get an appearance, isn't it? There we go. So that's some bullion knots, and let's do a French knot back here just for a change. Oops. well, like I say, they're giant French knots, so they're not really proper French knots. There we go. Anyway, well, I will cover this in bits and things, and don't forget you can always put some beads in here, or whatever you like, really, just to add sort of more texture and things. So I will go back to you when I've done it. Right, so yesterday was a little bit mad. I had the electrician and the plumber in, so we didn't have water for a lot of the day. So what I was going to do is paint these little sections here. Oh, I was going to show you as well. Let me just see if I can zoom in a little bit. These are the little stitches I've done. I put a few around the very edge of the Tyvek, because you can see there's quite a sort of strong edge down here. So I've put a few knots around the edge just to sort of smooth that out a little bit. These would be in 2 strands, so 1 strand of brown and 1 strand of grey. There's the difference between the 3 strands of each. And then they're just sort of just subtle little things, just so that you get more to see at different distances. So because the water was turned off yesterday, I was going to, like I say, paint this. So instead I put all pieces of other miscellany on there. So I've stitched in some beads, just a few little things, and I've put in some watch parts. You see these from eBay. They're not very expensive, all kinds of weird miscellaneous shapes and sizes of cogs and bits and things. So I love the cogs. I was always finding these sort of funny shapes a bit, I didn't know quite what to do with them, but they work rather well, just as little bits of metallic rubble. Best not to put anything too shiny in there, because it will really sort of bing against the rest of it, but they've just a little bit of something in there. So then I've added these here, which I will stitch down with the famous invisible thread. That's a Tim Holtz die. I think it's called Tangled Twigs or something like that. Not sponsored, just I've painted this piece of I don't know what it is. I think it's probably from a scrapbook. They kind of can have almost slightly handmade-y type paper kind of thing. And if you paint this black, it's got a bit more texture to it somehow than if you just use a piece of plain card, which can look a little bit shiny. Anyway, that's that. Then the jar of bits and bobs came out. So we've got some bits of Luchador. What else have we got? I think that was about it. So because, like I say, we didn't have any water, I couldn't then wash my brushes to paint this. So it actually worked out quite well, because I think I'm going to prefer it as it is. So all I'm going to do, invisible thread, is, got the wrong glasses on again, but never mind, we'll work it out. All we're going to do is stitch all of these little bits onto here. To see through all the pins, like a little rainforest of pins. So yeah, just tiny little stitches like you've seen many times before, all tangling up in the pins. But that's what happens in real life. I could reshoot the footage and go, oh look at me miraculously making it perfect every time, but that's just not how it works. So we'll show you how it actually goes. So all I've done is added these little dark bits where there are some shadows in the picture, which I've lost, because I think it just looked too sort of flat and brown and like nothing interesting was going on. So this all adds a nice little area of contrast. So I will stitch all of these bits down and come back to you. Right, there we go. So I have stitched down all these little bits, so it's got a bit more contrast. But I still think it's lacking something, particularly up here. So I'm going to add a bit of net. Now I found this in a lovely little place called Rose Tinted Rags in Hereford. A giant bag of weird offcuts. A lot of them are triangles, but anyway, so not very much money. So not sponsored, just giving them a shout out, sharing the love. So I'm going to add these bits, just chop off little sections and plonk. I'm at that sort of tricky stage at the moment where things, you're not quite sure, it's not right, but you don't know quite how to make it work. So change glasses, that would help. I like Professor Brainstorm here with all the different glasses. Right. So things like this, just to sort of add little bits. I've lost me. There we go. Referring to the original picture, which I've buried under here, and all kinds of other things. So just in these little sections here, maybe a bit up here, things, just little bits here and there to stop it looking wrong, however I do that. Anyway, so I will add a few bits of this and stitch it down with the invisible thread. I think this whole thing's probably half invisible thread. So I will tinker about with that. So all it is, chop a bit off, pin it into place and see what you think. Very technical. Anyway, yes, I will tinker and be back. Right, there we go, that's better. Contrast, it's always a failing of mine, is I'm terrible at contrast and terrible at colour, but I'm doing my best to realise that that's a problem, so it's generally the answer if it's not looking right. It's either the wrong colour or the wrong amount of contrast. Other than that, it's fine. Anyway, so yeah, all I need to do now is stitch that down and all is good. So I think we're there, or at least I'm going to leave it for a few days to have a look at and see what suddenly pops out as looking weird. So I think, yeah, we finally got there. So we've stitched all of this into place, little invisible thread stitches. Yeah, so I shall, next time you see this, I shall be attaching it to the big panel, and it will become part of three, like a kind of a triptych in one piece, if that makes any sense at all. So thank you ever so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe. It would make the world of difference to me. And let me know what you think, and if you've enjoyed it or if you've got any ideas for videos that you'd like me to do, just let me know. So thank you ever so much for watching. Bye bye.